that last chart of balls there, and I see nothing but biomass sitting on the field there, ready to be converted. Anyways, I'll keep this short, so we hopefully have a few minutes for questions. I wanted to just give you a few examples from my experiences at DuPont and a lot of interactions with universities over the years, and give you a couple of pointers on what works and doesn't work. You've got the handouts in front of you, so we can move fairly quickly. On the first chart, or the second chart, I guess, next one, please. Just a couple of high-level comments here. What really doesn't work? What really doesn't work is when the money is paid to a university and we say thank you very much and we expect some results with no interactions back and forth. That just doesn't work. Never has and probably never will. And the other thing that, in my experience, has not worked well is when the money is provided to a university, a professor to do some work, but the professor tends to continue to do their own thing without paying a lot of attention to what the industrial partner wanted. So those are a couple of things that come to mind as you think of what does not work, but there are a lot of things that have worked, and that's what I want to concentrate on in the next slide here. What works is when there is a real partnership between the academic institution or national laboratory and the industrial partner. I think one of the best collaborations I ever had was with Howard Alper at the University of Ottawa. I would visit Ottawa quarterly, sit down with the students, Howard and his staff, and we'd go through the details of the project, talk about the results, a little bit of encouragement. The students liked it because they got a free lunch and free dinner out of the deal once a quarter. Once a year, the students would come down to DuPont at the experimental station, take a little tour of the place and see what life in the real world was like. That was great. We recognized at DuPont that students need papers to get jobs, so we tried to make sure that any patents that were appropriate were filed extremely quickly. We did it in record time so that the papers could be written and published before the student graduated. And the industry needs to have control over the intellectual property that's generated from the funded research project. Next slide. So I'll give you two examples. The first example is one collaboration we had with Joe DeSimone. Our scientists visiting universities recognized Joe, many of you know him, as a bright young guy at Virginia Tech when he was a graduate student. DuPont has a program for new young investigators, $25,000 a year for 3 years, unrestricted. It's very competitive. Joe was recognized as a graduate student as being a bright young guy. He was given a grant even before he landed at North Carolina and started up his work. And with that $75,000 grant, he was able to establish, it was a start in helping him establish a career in supercritical chemistry. He initially did some work in polymerizations in CO2. If we go to the next slide, please. Joe discovered that polymerizations of fluoromonomers and some other things in supercritical CO2 gave some very, very good results. The patents were filed by the University of North Carolina. Joe obviously went to DuPont and said, we've got this really great stuff here. Do you want to take out a license to it? So over the next several years, there was an excellent relationship between the University of North Carolina and DuPont in scaling up and commercializing this polymerization of tetrafluoroethylene in supercritical CO2. Excellent collaboration. On the next chart, I've shown the benefits to both DuPont and to the University of North Carolina. Almost a $300 million investment in the facility in North Carolina, a very significant royalty stream on an ongoing basis for the life of the patents to the University of North Carolina, a number of construction jobs, tax credits for DuPont in the state for the manufacturing facilities, and as I said, significant royalties for the University of North Carolina. So that was a win-win situation. We got to know Joe, he made some inventions, he told us, we scaled it up, commercialized it, they make some money, DuPont makes a few bucks on the deal. Okay, the next one is a bigger collaboration with Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Back in 2000, as DuPont made this big transition over to bio-based materials, they decided to become a little more educated internally and to build collaborations, look for opportunities. So a big arrangement was set up with MIT, $35 million over 5 years with MIT. There was an educational component associated with that. It was a successful 5-year project. and that was renewed last year for another 5 years. So let me just go through some of the highlights of that particular project. As you can see on this slide, first of all, when something this big is set up, there's obviously a lot of attention, and it was very, very important to make sure all the rules, all the guidelines were established before the first dollar was spent. So there was a lot of interaction at the highest levels of DuPont and MIT. The agreement was put in place and settled initially. It was important to recognize that it wanted to be interdepartmental. 2/3 of the departments at MIT were eligible in this first round of $35 million. The next round included all departments at MIT could propose projects that were interdepartmental, multidisciplinary. Their projects were reviewed by an advisory board consisting of faculty members from MIT, DuPont managers, and scientists. The steering committee was set up, overseen by DuPont's Chief Technology Officer, Tom Connolly, and the MIT provost. So you can see that there was a lot of discussion ahead of time. There's been a lot of interaction. There have been a lot of students back and forth into DuPont laboratories, discussing the results, talking about new projects. So it's been a really good deal for both DuPont and for MIT. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. A couple highlights there on projects that have worked. We can discuss it more in detail. I'm not going to go through the opportunities in catalysis. You can read them. I mentioned some this morning. But the top point, the top burger dot, is one that I want to make. There are a lot of new companies when you get into the catalytic conversion of biomass. You know, the Dows and the DuPonts and the Rowan Haases and all these Exxons and Mobil's been around for a long time. There are a whole bunch of new companies emerging. Well, they've been around, but emerging in the field of catalysis, the ADMs, the Cargills, a lot of small startup companies. They know nothing to a large extent about catalysis. This is the real opportunity. If I was in academics, I would try my best to seek out those new companies that are new to catalysis and try to get some relationships going, because they need your help to get started and to move quickly into this biomass conversion area. So that's the point I wanted to make on this particular slide. And that's all I wanted to say at this point. Thank you.